Alrighty, go ahead.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Lance Prado, Director of Business Licensing. Today, we're just here to talk about our community outreach that we're going through with every licensee in the city has the opportunity to explain what about the code they like, what they don't like, how it can be better administered, regulated, enforced, etc. So we don't have draft code at this time. We're basically just taking input from the community. Like I said, over the last few days, we've had discussions on nearly every chapter. This is the last session, and we'll be going over a few of the topics that obviously you're interested in. If you could scoot ahead a minute or a slide or two. Basically, we're just providing feedback here. So this is your opportunity to let us know. A lot of times we hear we're not business friendly, and that's we want to know what makes it business not friendly. So any recommendations or concerns, comments that you want to relate to us about the code, that's what we're here for. Next slide. So today, these are what we're talking about. These are our topics. If you are here for a topic that's not listed on that, still feel free to raise your hand, interject anytime. If you have a question, concern, by all means, don't feel like we're just restricted to this. But I'm going to go through these and kind of identify some issues that we have internally, and then just let everybody speak on any concerns or comments that they want to give us. Okay. And also, if anybody needs Spanish assistance, we have that help here today as well. And if anyone listening on Zoom has a question, please just raise your hand and we'll pull you over. Next slide. Okay, so first off, our motel inspection program. This is essentially used to regulate all of our motels in the area and make sure that everything's being done appropriately, legally, that everything's health and safety regulations are upheld. In our office, this is generally speaking handled by code enforcement, but the code falls under business license at this time. So as far as anybody in this room is concerned or online, I don't know if anybody owns a motel or has been through this process. They'd like to speak on it. If they think that anything could be changed, fixed, updated, happy to hear those comments out. No one at this time? Yes, sir.
Well, I don't have one on the motel inspection program, but I have a general question.
Sure, go ahead.
How's it related? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And do I need to say my name or anything?
No need.
Okay, well, I would like to, for the Reno Business Code to look at or request that they require short-term rentals or Airbnbs to license with the city of Reno.
Okay.
It's become kind of a bit of a problem in many cities across America. And because there's not a lot of laws that restrict it once they're in place, right? So the residents, the neighbors, whatever, don't have much recourse. But requiring a license or at least registration of short-term rentals would allow then sensitive areas to kind of black out their area, say this is a no SDR zone, or you think like condos, so like a condo building can say we're a no SDR condo establishment, or there's existing HOAs or developments that already have existing laws against SDRs. Again, they can't enforce those because the laws as they stand now are just too big.
Sure.
But allowing a license and allowing, no-go zones would allow enforcement.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for the feedback. That's good. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns on motel inspection or anything related at this point? No? Okay. Adult business. So generally speaking, we're talking about adult businesses could be magazine stores, could be any sort of bookstores, adult businesses in general, not necessarily referring to an adult cabaret, but adult business. It's the magazine stores, the items of sexual nature. These are regulated mostly in a zoning way, right? With adjacency and where they're at in the city. There's not a whole lot of detail that we get, questions that we get on, what the regulations entail. It's generally where can they go? Is this an allowed area for them to be? And that falls under planning as well. So anybody have any questions on that? Anything that they like, don't like, would like to see revised, changed? And I will add on a lot of these chapters, they haven't been updated in 25 years. We're going to go through and we're going to update the language. There's a lot of stuff that's outdated. There's references, definitions that just don't make sense anymore. So a lot of these things will just be opened up for that purpose alone. But obviously, we're here to get the feedback if something is inhibiting business or causing concern. So if there's nothing on that, next section. Interactive cabarets, these are more commonly referred to as a strip club. So same thing, these are privileged licenses. The establishment owner has to get the license, and then the dancers are separate from that. They come and get work cards from the city. There's pretty strict rules. This was actually rewritten about 6 years ago or so, 5-6 years ago. So it did get a good look at that point. But obviously, we're opening up everything, and we're listening to comment.
One question here, just in it partially, but to make sure I'm remembering things correctly, Chapter 4 is a standard non-privileged activity. Chapter 5 is a privileged where there is
You got it.
suitability of the operator in addition to suitability of the business, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was remembering that correctly because you're bouncing back and forth a little bit, so.
Good point. Anything you see in chapter 4 is your general business license. The chapter 5 are privilege licenses, require background checks. And like you said, more suitability of the licensee as well as the location, and the compatibility of the surrounding areas. Next slide. Escorts and alcohol services, again, kind of falls under the same subject matter that we were talking about with those other two. Generally speaking, we have one licensed escort or alcohol service in the city. It's a code that's been around for a long time, and it has not been adjusted. It has not been looked at. So again, it's some of these things may be outdated by just by what you call them. So we're looking at that. Anybody online? Nobody's raising their hand on there. Don't have any questions on that? No. Okay, next. Right-of-way toll. I don't expect much of anyone to say anything about this as well. This is Truckee Meadows Water is required to pay 5% on each house they service to the city. Falls under business license for reasons unknown to me. So, but it is here. So I want anybody to have the availability to speak on it if they want. If anything, I could see this moving into another section of the code, but.
Say, why isn't this under the franchise agreement?
Franchises are under here as well, and.
Yeah, because that's what Tumblr
Yeah.
is essentially.
Yeah, it's an odd little section.
Yeah.
Okay, medical and adult use cannabis. I think there might be a little more relevancy here. This obviously just was rewritten, combined medical use and adult use about a year and a half ago. We basically we combined the two to coincide with what the state was doing and how they wrote their regulations. Really, at this time, we have nothing to note in this chapter as far as what changes should occur other than the new dual licensing definitions and parameters at the state level. But if anybody has any comments on how that process works, now is the time to let us know. We try to just abide by state law and NRS and facilitate the transactions, changes of ownership, things like that as they come up, and let the state do the heavy work, and then we're doing the city permitting. But now's the time to weigh in on if that process is working or not for anyone. Yes, sir.
So I guess the main points on this one for our organization is the renewal process for the quarterly license.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those areas where we're hoping we might be able to see like a little bit of change, whether that's moving it to like an annual basis, or I think the main issue that we're having is that 15-day grace period associated with the quarterly renewals. Oftentimes we run into, due to our internal processes, given that we're publicly traded, you're running into like time constraints with that, and expanding it maybe to like a 30-day grace period, similar to what Spark says.
Okay.
That would certainly be helpful.
Sure.
For our internal processes.
So not necessarily that it would be a quarterly payment moved to an annual payment, but maybe just more of a grace period. Okay, all right, that's good. Good to know. Like I said, there were a few legislative changes that we will go through and update, but since this was looked at somewhat recently, I don't anticipate much change. But as far as that goes, there has been discussion of changing our quarterly licenses to annual licenses in general. just for ease of filing and, just consistency. So I can see that possibly happening. Thanks for that. Any other comments on cannabis at this time? No, next one. All right, so massage establishments, again, a pretty recently updated piece of code. This, I guess it came into existence just a few years ago. We haven't made any changes on it, but this is, I think it affects, a decent amount of people in casinos, private companies, not necessarily, some establishment owners, some just people that are masseuse. So happy to hear any consternation this is causing, any sort of business issues. Yes, ma'am.
So when this came out 3 years ago, there were some new parameters put in what we could do in a massage room, in a massage establishment, a spa. One of those was to not have a shower in the massage room.
Right.
And while I understand in those bad actors out there, while they may use that for one reason, when we built our spa, which has 11 rooms, we have one that is multi-purpose for body wraps, scrubs, and massage. And of course, now that sits unused. While I know there are plenty out there who still use theirs because it's really not being enforced. So
Sure.
if you're not enforcing it, you put these rules into place, but yet you're at the detriment of a business who does want to follow the rules.
Right.
Why do we even have it? Why is that a rule?
Yeah, and I honestly, this came on before I came to the city. I wasn't involved in drafting any of this stuff. I do understand that from the state perspective, they're, like you said, they're bad players. We do at the city try to make an annual compliance visit to every massage establishment to make sure that that's happening. If when we note things, we'll issue violations and citations and stuff if necessary. But I appreciate the comment and how that can be altered to, possibly maybe it can work in some situations. It's some stuff that's mandated. So we're working with the state and seeing what is within our power. And so that's cool. Anybody else have any concerns with massage establishments at this time?
I do, so
Yeah.
the licensing changed to a preferred license, correct?
A privileged license, yeah.
Yeah, privileged.
Yeah.
But our business license doesn't state that.
It doesn't reflect that.
It just doesn't say it, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
And in fact, the first time shortly after this transition took place, we filled out the application, got our fingerprints, went for months and nothing happened. We had to follow up a lot. And when the inspector did come in, they said, well, where's your
You're out of
license?
compliance.
You're out of compliance. Well, okay, good luck because nobody's processing it. So it took over a year for City of Reno or Washoe County, whoever it was, to actually follow through
sure.
with that application. He didn't get dinged on it or anything because they didn't have
Gotcha.
But as of today, it still does not say privileged.
It doesn't say.
it doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good to know.
So,
When were you licensed?
uh,
What year was that?
2016.
16.
That was the
Okay.
initial.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else? Yeah,
Just for clarification,
Uh-huh.
the privilege license for massage establishment, if you're a single operator, that is still not the case for the single operator massage.
if you're like an independent contractor working for somebody,
No,
or are you talking
I have
about?
my own office, but it's just me. I'm not a spa, I'm not an establishment. I don't employ other therapists. It's just me.
Yeah, I think it still applies, does it not, Alex?
We consider you as an independent contractor.
Because you're not employing anyone else.
You're not
underneath.
employing anyone else and you're not advertising yourself to be a massage establishment. Like you have your own clients.
Then I would suggest you get together with the state on that because I just got my massage
Mhm.
establishment certificate from the state. And so it's, and also from the federal government, they don't view me as an independent contractor, I'm a sole proprietor.
Right. And I think when we originally went through the ordinance change, we said that and from our perspective, an independent contractor who is already getting a background check through the massage establishment wouldn't have to go through another background check through the city. And so that's why we classified your type as an independent contractor.
Okay,
And you will see that there is a lot of to NRS in this particular chapter. It does talk about if you are licensed, then this, if you're not licensed at the state, then this kind of a thing.
right.
And yes, it could probably be more clear, like you say, and maybe we can work on some verbiage changes to maybe be more consistent with the state or the county or whoever's issuing these other licenses, so that everybody knows what it is exactly.
And I would say if I am considered under the privileged license, there's no indication on my business license that
Okay.
it's different than a chapter 4's license.
Okay, that's good feedback too.
I wonder if part of the way to solve that isn't to do a standard business license from a massage establishment, single operator, and then do your privileged massage establishments, 2 or more, just to make it clear for everybody.
Sure. No, that could be.
Because that lets you not have that, okay, we have to consider them X because the background check's already been done.
Right.
Same thing.
Sure.
That might be the solution to that. I don't know.
Yeah, yes,
Hi, Liz.
I agree.
Christy Brenner with the massage board. I just wanted to just kind of piggyback on what Megan said, just for a little clarification, that the massage board, we do have an establishment certificate that's being implemented now. We just started implementing it in June, and it's our own certificate. It's an establishment certificate. It's not a license. And it doesn't, the only reason that it has different levels is for how much the therapists have to pay, if anything.
Okay.
So based on if their establishment with 5 rooms or 3 rooms or just 1 room determines the pay scale. And that's the only differential you'll see on those.
Okay, good to know. Okay, yeah, and one of the things like that definition wise that we talked about internally was the shower table and everything else, and, you know, knowing what to expect and speaking with the state and saying like, okay, are certain things possible? So I do appreciate bringing that up. That was one of the main that's all I did say on this one. We've gotten questions about concerns, so. Any other comments on massage? No? Next slide. So franchises, as you said, and telecommunications, these are both been thrown into chapter 5. Franchises, I get, it is a privileged license of sorts, but it's more of a legal agreement and an agreement between the city and a provider. Any changes to this will be taking place at the city attorney's office, so I can't imagine that anybody has anything to weigh in on this, but if they did, I'm glad to hear it. I can see this possibly moving outside of the chapter as well. And
So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Franchises.
Please.
So, like you said, a franchise is a legal agreement between the franchisee and the franchisor. So is the franchise subject to federal law or is it under state law regulation?
I did not know that.
Kirby, can I ask a clarification here? These are utility companies operating in the right of way. This is not
Correct.
franchisee like McDonald's or Carl's Jr. or something.
100%. Yeah, this would be somebody that's like Tumwa, not Sierra Pacific, NB Energy.
Oh, disregarded that. We're not talking about it.
Yeah, so these are franchise agreements that service the city, and they're under like waste management. It's a private, that one's actually, I think, coming up for renegotiation. So, but it's something that the city has basically said, you're the one where you can do this in the right of way, you're operating with the right of way, providing services for the city in general. That's what this falls under.
Okay.
So yeah, total legal agreements, nothing to do with independent businesses like that. Franchise type stuff. And again, telecommunications, it's kind of falls under franchises as well. It's separated out for whatever reason. That's been a long time. I don't know why they decided to do that at the time. It could have just been a city attorney office, move on how they did that. So no questions on that. I'll move on. So the next steps in this whole process, again, you just saw a little piece of this throughout the other days. We were talking about all the other license types, and basically what we're going to do now is I'll go through this one more time tonight with another group, anybody that shows up, and we're going to take all that feedback. We're going to take all our internal feedback that we've collected over the years of what works, what doesn't work, what are people calling and complaining about, what do people love, ideas for streamlining, talk to the other departments, and we're going to take all the information and give it to our consultant, and we're going to work with them to create a draft. Once we get a draft of our entire code rewrite, we will share that with everybody. And we'll get that, again, we'll do another set of feedback on, is this acceptable? Does this hurt you? Does this help you? That kind of thing. And then we'll revise it from there and go through the business impact statement process. At which time, that's the legal process to make sure everybody knows what's going on, and who has any questions, concerns. So as you can see, it kind of stretches out into next year. Hopefully, this code will be effective by the beginning of the next fiscal year. That's the intent here. The biggest gap here is our timeframe between November and January, when we'll do most of the drafting with the consultant, and yeah, so that's about it on the process. Go to the next slide, please. So if you do have questions, comments, and you want to submit more information, please use blcode@reno.gov. That's part of our whole gathering of information. We want to talk about your massage establishment and what it is. We've heard you here. This is recorded, but if you want to put it in writing as well, that's great. And any of your concerns as well with your licensing. The website reno.gov business license is got everything on it. It's got timelines, links to meetings. All of these meetings will be posted on there too. If you want to go back and watch anything, we'll have drafts up there, any related documentation. So if you have any questions at all, you can email us, you can call us at the regular business line, or go to the website. And with that, I'm happy to answer any general questions or anything else.
Would you do one favor?
Yeah.
If it's not too big a deal, everybody that sent you an email saying, could you add me to the email list? Could you send out a blast simply saying, hey, you're on our email list to get updates?
Yeah.
Because once you sent that email, there was no,
Sure.
oh, yeah, it got through okay. And we all know emails can have problems.
Sure. Yep. We can do
So that might be just a quick, easy, hey, thanks for your interest.
Yep.
We've got you on the list,
Got it. Will do.
just as a double check.
For sure. Yeah. Anything else? No?
Is that the last one?
That's it. Yeah.